The Haunted House. It was a dark and stormy night when a group of friends, Emily, John, Sarah, and Alex, decided to take on a dare that would change their lives forever. The town they lived in had always been known for its eerie legends, but none was more infamous than the story of the old Weatherford house at the edge of the woods. The house, a once grand mansion, had been abandoned for decades. Rumors swirled around the town about strange noises, flickering lights, and ghostly figures seen through the windows. Some said the house was cursed. Others, that it was haunted by the spirits of the Weatherford family who had mysteriously vanished many years ago. Despite the warnings from the townsfolk, the group of friends had always been drawn to the house. They had grown up listening to the stories and daring each other to go inside. That night, after much discussion, they made a pact to explore the Weatherford house. They knew it was going to be the ultimate test of their courage. As they approached the house, the wind howled, and the trees around them creaked and groaned under the force of the storm. The house loomed ahead, its broken windows like hollow eyes staring into the night. Despite the fear creeping into their hearts, they pressed on. "We're just going to check it out," John said, trying to sound confident. "We'll stick together and leave if it gets too creepy." Sarah shuddered but nodded. "Yeah, we can leave as soon as we feel uncomfortable." Alex, ever the skeptic, laughed. "You guys are scared of nothing. It's just an old house." They reached the front door, which was slightly ajar. The hinges squeaked as they pushed it open, revealing a grand but decaying entrance hall. Dust motes danced in the dim light, and the air was thick with the smell of mildew and neglect. The floor creaked under their feet as they stepped inside. The grand staircase loomed before them, and in the hallway to the left, an ornate chandelier hung crookedly from the ceiling, its crystals dull and covered in cobwebs. The friends' footsteps echoed as they ventured further inside, their flashlights flickering as they moved through the dust-laden rooms. "I don't know about this," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "It feels wrong." "You're just spooked," Alex replied, his voice too loud in the silence. "There's nothing here but old furniture and cobwebs." As they explored the ground floor, they discovered broken furniture, shattered mirrors, and faded portraits on the walls. The house seemed to be stuck in time, frozen in an eerie stillness that unsettled them more than they cared to admit. They eventually made their way to the basement door. It was heavy and worn, the wood warped with age. It stood ajar, as if inviting them to enter. Emily hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. "We don't have to go down there, do we?" "We've come this far," John said, giving her a reassuring smile. "Let's just take a look." "We're almost done." Against her better judgment, Emily followed the others as they descended the stairs. The basement was colder than the rest of the house, and the air was thick with the scent of something stale. Their flashlights flickered again as they stepped into the room, revealing rows of old crates and boxes covered in dust. In the far corner, there was an old rocking chair. It sat eerily still in the shadows. But as they stood there, an odd sound broke the silence. A faint creaking, as if someone had just rocked the chair. The group froze, their eyes wide with fear. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone could respond, a cold breeze swept through the basement, extinguishing their flashlights. The room was plunged into darkness. "Everyone, stay close," John said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Let's get out of here." But the moment he spoke, they heard a soft whisper, as if someone was calling their names. It was faint but unmistakable. The whisper echoed through the basement, sending shivers down their spines. "Who's there?" Alex called out, his voice cracking. But there was no reply, only the continued whispers. The air grew colder, and the temperature seemed to drop with each passing second. The friends huddled together, fear creeping into their minds. Suddenly, the rocking chair in the corner began to move on its own, slowly rocking back and forth. "That's it! I'm done!" Sarah screamed. "Let's go!" They turned to leave, but as they reached the staircase, the door at the top slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping them in the basement. Panic set in. "What the hell is happening?" Emily cried, her voice shaking with terror. John pounded on the door, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, filling the air with an unnatural energy. The friends were trapped, unable to escape. Then, from the shadows, they saw a figure. At first, it was just a shadow in the corner, but as it moved toward them, it became clearer. A woman in a tattered white dress, her face pale and hollow, her eyes dark and empty. Her long, tangled hair hung in front of her face, and she moved with a slow, unnatural glide, like a ghost from another time. "Who are you?" Alex asked, his voice trembling. The woman stopped in front of them, and the temperature dropped even further. Her eyes flickered with a faint glow, and her lips parted, but no sound came out. Instead, they felt the overwhelming sense of sorrow and loss, a cold, unspoken grief that surrounded them. Suddenly, the basement door creaked open, and the friends ran for it without a second thought, scrambling up the stairs and out of the house. They didn't stop until they were far away, breathless and terrified, watching as the house loomed dark and silent behind them. The whispers seemed to follow them, but when they turned to look, the house was still. The storm had passed, and the moonlight shone eerily on the Weatherford house, which seemed as lifeless as before. But they knew something had changed. They had come face to face with the spirits of the house, and they would never forget the haunting that they had witnessed. From that night on, they never spoke of the house again, but every time they walked past it, they would hear the faintest whisper carried on the wind. They never dared to return to the Weatherford house, for they knew it was a place where the past never truly died, and where the spirits still lingered, waiting for the next souls to wander too close.